Lads and lassies, so today we're going to talk about the god rolls for power weapons, as we talked about primary weapons in the last video. Watch this one too, it's linked in the comments. So we're going to start with the linear fusion rifle. So for PvE, I personally think the best perk is firing line. Higher damage boost than fraternity, and is also, in my opinion, easier to proc as you will be going to stand close to your allies for getting the buffs and everything. I mean, Trink Leader has a higher damage potential, but as I've said in the other video, this one's very situational. In the second slot, Searing Mark is the best one because this one stacks on precision hits, while the other ones need precision final blows or just kills in general. So Firing Line and Searing Mark is the best combination in my opinion. Also, in general, I think you wouldn't use a fusion rifle for ad clearing, so this one's pretty good for bossing. For PvP, in my opinion, the mythic perks don't really work as well, at least in the PvP we have right now with shifting gates and the iron bars. So I personally think you can only go with Frenzy in the first slot and in the second slot with Swashbuckler. The rest of the perks rely on stacking precision blows, hard to pull off in PvP. So continuing with the shotguns, we're going to start with the Eternal Retribution. For PvE in the first slot, obviously Conjugation, very great perk if you have the matching element. Otherwise I would go with the line formation. This grants an increase of the rate of fire compared to a dual loader where you only have faster reloads, and it's not really that much about reloading. I mean, obviously it also is going to affect your DPS, but power ammunition is a lot rarer in PvE, so I would take the line formation over dual loader. And if you get the perk upgrade, this one also reloads from your reserves. In the second slot, I'd go with Karmic Rewards. This is hands down the best perk in this slot. In order for this to proc, you would only have to hit the same target twice. And for the wound counter to proc or to build up stacks, you have to hit all of your rounds in a single target. So this one's easier to pull off, has the same damage potential and also an increase of rate of fire. This changes for PvP. Obviously go with Conjugation if it's applicable, otherwise I would go here with the dual loader. As I've said in the other video, in PvP I want my perks to not rely on stacks or certain situations, and that's why in the second slot Eager Aspirant's obviously the best choice. Also high impact reserves might work very well, and hand-to-hand sounds interesting. Continuing with the Ist 2. So this one has actually really nice perks. For PvE, again, I would go with line formation and here wound counter, as I personally think the ensure yields, even though it's recommended, isn't as fitting as the wound counter, because generally when you're using shotguns you're going to use this against powerful enemies or bosses, and I personally think your shotgun damage shouldn't rely on killing a lot of ads or whatever. Also Lash sounds interesting too. Haven't tried it out yet. For PvP, it's obviously the Spinosaurus shots. This is such a cool perk. I mean, you get higher damage and also an increase in range, which is going to be awesome. And in the second slot, the mythic perks rely on doing consecutive hits. I mean, if you're going to hit someone with a shotgun, it's going to be most of the time a one-hit kill. I actually think the high impact reserves is probably the best perk for PvP. Next we're going to talk about sniper rifles, starting with the 40,000 sight reel year. In the first slot for PvE again, I'd also go with Firing Line. As I've said, Trink Leaders to situational, and the damage buff from Firing Line is better than Fraternity. In the second slot again with Searing Mark, very great for bossing. Again, only relies on precision hits. PvP is a bit tricky. This one is a bit depending on the game mode you're playing. So for shifting gates, Fraternity might be applicable. If you're playing Iron Bar, Firing Line might be better. So again, those two depending on the mode, and then the second slot, high impact reserves. For my favorite sniper, the Magoichi. For PvE, I'd go with the Statue's Heart, because when bossing there will be a lot of situations where you will be standing stationary when in damage phase or whatsoever. And in the second slot I'd go with Pranayama, because this one relies on doing precision hits and has a massive damage increase. For PvP I'd go with Annihilation and high impact reserves, as again I think the rest isn't as applicable for PvP situations with building stacks and all. And also, I mean, if you're going to do a precision hit in PvP, it's going to be a one-hit kill, obviously. The swords, starting with the Nobunaga. So for PvE, I'd go with Fraternity, as I prefer the constant damage buff, and again, it's going to be up most of the time. As I've said in the other videos, Surrounded is a bit too situational for me. I wouldn't pick the Slashing Readiness, because in the second slot, I think the Coup de Grace, peak French right here, is probably the best slot, and those two are contradicting each other but also Eager Aspirant is good too. That was for bossing. Again, I personally don't really use my power weapons for ad clearing, because power ammunition is a lot rarer. If you like using sword, slashing through ads and all, I did that in Destiny 2. You could also go with Surrounded and Glutton if you would want to do ad clearing, but PvP is a bit difficult. Again, Fraternity maybe if you're doing shifting gates, not so for Iron Bar. Other than that, I think the only really applicable perk would be Haunt the Broken here in the first slot. In the second slot we have more choices. Eager Aspirant is really good. Also Trifecta sounds interesting, and On Guard. Next we're going to talk about the makeshift ending. In the bossing case, I'd go with Fraternity. In the second slot we're going with Coup de Grace, great perk. If you would want to shing 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 through enemies, I'd go with Relentless Flag and Glutton for ad clearing. For PvP, Annihilation and Trifecta or On Guard. Last but not least, CLY2 Kakalik Sword. So for PvE, I'd go with Annihilation, because again, Surrounded, situational, Engraved also is applicable when your health gets continuously lower. And in the second slot, I'd go with either Battle Cry or Dismemberment. This one actually is based on which attack pattern you prefer, because with the Battle Cry, you do one heavy attack and then do as many light attacks as you can do in 4 seconds or 5 seconds. And with this one, you would want to do 3 light attacks to get the stacks up and then 1 heavy attack, so that's a matter of preference in my opinion. For PvP, actually the Engraved Remembrance sounds interesting. Also Annihilation is always great. And in the second slot again, On Guard. If you would want to choose one of them, I would prefer the Battle Cry in PvP, because you don't want to build up stacks and all. Next we're going to talk about the only grenade launcher, mythic grenade launcher in the game, the Hon 1 Cannon Krok PvE. This one's actually funny because I personally think all of those perks in the first slot are great. This one comes down to preference. If I could choose one of those perks, I would prefer the auto-loading holster, because this one's just so convenient. If you would want to get the highest damage in a bossing phase, I would go with Fraternity. If you would want to do ad clearing, again, auto-loading holster or sympathetic detonation might be also really good, because you're going to break a lot of shields from elite enemies whatsoever. So again, personal preference. If you want to lead on this for bossing, Fraternity. For ad clearing, probably sympathetic detonation, but auto-loading holster is just great for convenience and for lazy people. In the second slot for bossing, Splash Feast is hands down the best perk. Really, really great. If you would want to do ad clearing, I would probably go with Black Body over the Ensured Yields, because the Ensured Yields is really great for primary weapons, but I don't think for power weapons, because it relies on reloading, and as I've said, power ammunition is rare in PvE. For PvP, I'd personally go with the Impulse Amplifier, because as I've said in the other videos, I want my perks to apply in every situation, not rely on anything. And in the second slot, probably with Shellfire Sprite, really great perk. Next up, only Mythic Rocket Launcher in the game so far, and I'm trying to make this one quick. Again, starting with PvE, Conjugation if applicable. Other than that, it's a matter of preference. I personally always prefer Fraternity over Annihilation. And in the second slot, I'll definitely go with the Ablation Shell, which is really great for bossing, because in bossing you don't really rely on blast radius. If you would want to do ad clearing, one could argue for Ensured Yields. In a PvP situation, again, the Impulse Amplifier, great perk, also Annihilation or also Conjugation if applicable. Also Explosive Returns sounds really interesting. In the second slot, I would go with Double Whammy. Really interesting, might be great for Iron Bar, especially on small maps. Point Blank sounds interesting too, but you would only want to use it at close range if you like getting scared when someone comes around the corner or whatnot. Next up, the Mythic Machine Gun, starting with the Scorched Earth. So for PvE bossing, I'd go again Fraternity. Annihilation also applicable, but my personal choice would be Fraternity. In the second slot, either with Eager Aspirant or Glutton. I personally would probably prefer Eager Aspirant. Possible to get the 19 stacks if you have the perk upgrade, but as the ammunition is limited compared to the primary weapons, probably Eager Aspirant. And for a PvP situation, Voodoo Doll is always a great perk. If your aiming is great and you're clicking a lot of heads, I'd go with Annihilation. And in the second slot, again with Eager Aspirant, great perk for PvP too. Also Under Pressure might be applicable too. The BVD4 Akutag has actually a great perk from Destiny 2, the Evolvable Weapon. You have to get this one in the first slot, obviously for bossing. And in the second slot, I'd go with Syncopation again because of the consistency. great perk. If you would want to do some ad clearing or use it for general PvE, also auto-loading holster is a great perk, and black body, but I personally would always prefer the Warple weapon Syncopation God roll. For PvP, I'd go with Fire Rush and Syncopation. If you tend to sometimes miss the target, Misfortune's Confetti might be applicable too. But also Target Lock would work as well. In this case, I wouldn't use high impact reserves because you have a lot more ammo than with the other weapons where you get to the lower half a lot faster. Last, we're talking about the auto crossbow, starting with the Sizo. And for PvE, again, I would personally only use this one for bossing, and for that I would go with Fire Rush and Eager Aspirant. Great combination. One could also argue for Glutton, because as I've said, getting the stacks is easy also in boss fights, but the power ammunition is limited, so for primary weapons Glutton is a lot better than for power weapons in my opinion, and Eager Aspirant has a constant reliable damage boost. Shrink Leader is too situational for me, and that's why also for PvP I'd go with Fire Rush and Eager Aspirant, maybe Target Lock. With the Horn-free Ibel Lux, last one. For PvE we're going to pick Fraternity again, maybe Annihilation preference thing, and in the second slot for bossing with Syncopation, and in a PvP situation I'd go with Annihilation and Syncopation too. So that's it for our God Roll series. Please share the video, like, subscribe, comment, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. Also thanks to the new subscribers, and yeah, now I can finally play the game again. See you in the next one.